The news, good evening. 3 out of the group of seafarers that arrived yesterday for a crew change on board a Spanish fishing fleet have tested positive for the COVID-19 antibody and PCR tests. The Health Commissioner, Dr. Jude Gédéon, says that so far they have boarded one boat to conduct confirmatory tests and they intend to carry on throughout the night.
Basically, we have 3 people who are out of 11 who had antibodies, who've also picked up as PCR positive, that is the confirmatory test, but they also have very strong antibodies. That shows that the infection is not recent. We don't know how far back they are, but they must be well over a week or 2 weeks old, because you only develop antibodies later on in the infection. That means they've already developed the immunity, they're not manifesting any symptom, so the chance of transmission in case they are still infectious is very low or non-existent. But as an abundance of precaution, we are keeping them on the side in isolation to make sure that they are there until they turn negative. The other, we don't have 20 cases as reported. We have 20 people who had the antibodies. We picked up antibodies out of those tested. So they're not cases. We picked up antibodies. For instance, if we test the 11 people who were at Perseverance Hospital, they will have antibodies, but they are not cases anymore. They're not active cases.
So antibody just means
the antibodies are there. They provide immunity.
So it just means that you've had the virus before.
If I test your antibodies for measles, you probably all have antibodies, but you're not measles cases.
The case between Bluebird Investissement Limited and Dr. Ramados, Sarah Renee, Mukesh Valabji, and the Seychelles International Specialist Medical Center was mentioned before the court this morning. Norlis Roswaro has the details.
The lawyer representing the company Bluebird Investissement and its director Mark Inch claimed 7.1 million rupees from the defendants. Bluebird Investissement is also claiming 7.1 million rupees from Mukesh Valabji in his personal capacity. Seychelles International Specialist Medical Center has been in the project stage since 2009, but at the beginning of this month, the building where the center was to be located was sold by Nouveau Banque to Lenmarine. Mark Inch's lawyer indicates that nearly $500,000 US was invested by his client and that to date the client has had no return or reimbursement of this investment. One of the defense lawyer indicates that the company, which is taking them to justice, is not the one which invested in the Seychelles International Specialist Medical Center. The company which invested was a French company, SAL, and not an international company limited registered in Malta. Case will continue on July 22nd and a verdict is expected on September 24th.
The chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry into the manner that the disposal of the immovable assets of COSPRO, Compagnie Seychelloise de Promotion et Hôtelière, were conducted, has presented an interim report to President Danny Faure. COSPRO was set up in 1980 with the mandate to manage several state-owned hotels. It was liquidated in 2006. Suspecting malpractice in the liquidation and sales procedures, the National Assembly approved a motion in 2018 calling on the President to set up a commission of inquiry. The commission also has the mandate to inquire into the accounting of the sale of the properties of COSPRO. The chairperson of the commission, Auditor General Gamini Herat, says the investigation was difficult because a lot of information was missing.
The main problem that we encountered as a commission is that the lack of records, because the law is such that it does not make it mandatory for companies or the other organizations, governmental organizations, to keep record for a certain period of time. So, and also it applies to banks. So when banks normally keep records according to them for 7 years. So if you want to know details of a transaction, that happens 7 years before or 8 years before, they can simply say they don't have the information. So these are the major impediments that we encountered in our work, but to tell you, it has been a very difficult and onerous amount of work that we have to do because of the limited amount of information, and that information also came piecemeal.
A former close ally of ex-President René has expressed regret at the regime's policy of seizing people's private property, but Dr. Maxime Ferrari told the Truth Commission that he congratulated himself for not taking too much when he was a cabinet minister. He was giving evidence about the compulsory purchase of the foreign-owned Flying Dutchman Hotel in Praslin in 1980.
Dr. Maxime Ferrari, in his 80s now, acknowledged his mistake in participating in the René policy of acquiring land. In the 1980s, as Minister for Economic Planning, Land Use and Housing, he says he was forced by pressure from above, but he'd been wrong. He was speaking about Mats Deutschmann's claim his family's hotel was seized because of his father's outspoken anti-René views.
And the family claims that the hotel was acquired and they were given 2 weeks to leave the country.
Et ça, c'est quand même toujours très mal vu.
Mr. Deutschmann, he said, was a man who liked to talk a lot and talk against the party and the government. I told him to stop talking. You're talking too much, he said. And then the order came from up above, and that was it.
My role is that I participated, I collaborated, and I did sign. I signed the acquisition, and Mr. René wanted it. A lot of pressure sometimes was put on me.
The panels heard how the family had to sell the 10-bungalow property for less than its true value. Efforts to transfer title to friends failed, and they were left with almost nothing.
I think it is, we could have done better without having done it. We did not have to do it. We could have done it in a civilized way.
He said he acted under pressure from above, but was complicit, and 40 years on, regretted it.
The Agency for the Prevention of Drug Abuse and Rehabilitation, ABDA, and the Department of Health have received a donation of protective gears. The Seychelles Red Cross Society collaborated with the Plateforme d'Intervention Régionale de l'Océan Indien, PIROA, and the European Union to make this donation, which consists of masks and gloves. The Chief Executive Officer of the Healthcare Agency, Kathleen Cécile, says that these equipments will be of good use.
We have built a stock, and maintaining that stock and continue increasing on the stock where possible is one of the priorities that we have, and it is a challenge because of the availability and the increased prices. However, it is an endeavor that we have to continue and struggle to achieve every day to make sure that we have enough PPEs so that when the time comes for us to respond again in a very active manner, we shall be ready.
And with this, we've come to the end of this news summary. I'll be back at 8 for the Creole Bulletin.